You said that a growth marketer is not in the top 5% if they don't get at least two things: understanding incrementality and local maximum.
Imagine you're blindfolded and your job is to find the highest points of the terrain you're on. And then you're like, great, I found the highest spots in this area. And you take your blindfold off and you're on top of a nice little hill, but you see this massive mountain on the other side, right? And you reach this local maximum, but you missed a bigger opportunity. Little A/B testing on a page is not how you 10, 100x a business. Incrementality can lead to a local maximum. So you need like both very rational math brain, and then you're more like creative out there marketing brain that you can't forget. If legal loves your campaign, it's not going to be a very good campaign. You know?
What's up, everyone? Today we have the pleasure of sitting down with Simon Lejeune, VP of Growth at Wealthsimple. Before joining Wealthsimple, Simon held leadership roles at companies like Hopper and BusBud. In this episode, we explore local maximum thinking versus global maximum, the best use cases for incrementality tests, how to handle ROI conversations, why most A/B testing is a waste of time, and how AI is making channel expertise less of a moat. All that and a bunch more stuff after a super quick word from one of our awesome partners. This episode is brought to you by Moat and their new warehouse native CEP, which revolutionizes the way data should be seamlessly fetched, analyzed, and activated. Now you can use Moat Cloud Data Sync to sync your warehouse data with Moat and use it to segment audiences or personalize messages without any development. Just set and forget. Use Moat warehouse segments to create segments on your warehouse data without moving underlying events, properties, or proprietary segmentation logic, and activate them directly on Moat. Using warehouse data analytics, brands can also directly generate insights from their warehouse data. Your long search solution for seamless data sync, smarter segmentation, dynamic personalization, and delightful customer experiences ends here. Warehouse native CEP from Moat, making it easy, smart, and secure. Learn more at moengage.com. Simon, thank you so much for your time today. Really excited to chat with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm sure you're a little more excited than I am because I heard you're a Sens fan and I'm more of a Habs guy in Montreal. But we'll make it work.
Yeah, we're recording this in the middle of the NHL playoffs for folks who aren't familiar. By the time this drops, both teams are probably going to be eliminated.
For sure.
So we'll see about that. Hopefully not. Hopefully there's still a Canadian team kicking around. But yeah, not often we get to speak with local Canadians. Daryl is co-working in San Francisco today. I'm based in Ottawa. Simon, you live in Montreal, but you're in Toronto right now, right?
Exactly. I try to come to our head office as frequently as possible. So I'm in Toronto right now.
Nice. Awesome. So when we were trying to figure out a topic for the episode today, you gave me a lot of different ideas. You even told me like, oh, the pre-interview questions were cool because I got to like meditate on some of these ideas. One of the things you said that I was just like, maybe we can do a full episode kind of unpacking this and see where those tangents kind of take us. But you said that a top 5% growth marketer or growth person today is not in the top 5% if they don't get at least two things. And the two things you said were understanding incrementality and local maximum. And we've talked a lot about incrementality on the show and measurements, but I think this idea of local maximum is potentially newer for some folks. I actually understood it from a different term. So maybe we can unpack that first. Like, when did this idea of local maximum really click for you? You remember that moment or project that kind of like taught you this the hard way, maybe?
Yeah, I actually learned this the hard way from Fred Lalonde, who's the founder and CEO at Hopper. And so just maybe to explain what a local maximum is for folks, the concept is like, imagine you're blindfolded and your job is to find the highest points of the terrain you're on. And so you're going to do a step forward, a step back, one to the left, one to the right. And if you find a higher spot, you're going to move there, right? And you're going to repeat that a few times until like every step you take is a lower position. And then you're like, great, I found the highest spots in this area. And you take your blindfold off and you're on top of a nice little hill, but you see this massive mountain on the other side, right? And you reach this local maximum, and you think like you're at the highest possible spot, but you missed a bigger opportunity. And so for the little anecdote, I was doing my interview rounds for Hopper, and I was at my final interview round. Fred was doing himself like every candidate. So at that point, and I thought I was like I got the job, but he actually grilled me a little bit to the point where I was getting a little nervous. And one of the questions he asked me was, "Okay, so cool, we want to hire you. Sounds like you're smart, but what's like one thing you would do? What's the first thing you want to change in the app to, I don't know, like grow revenue?" I haven't thought of a good answer to that, and so we had at the time a $5 tip that people could toggle. And a lot of people, I don't remember, let's say 30% of people were actually giving us a $5 tip when they were reserving their flight because we got them like a nice price thanks to our price predictions. And so I was like a little nervous. And my first answer was like, well, 5 was random, seems a little suboptimal. So I would probably do a $4 version and a $6 version and, see where we maximize revenue, right? Seems like an easy win. And then I saw his face. I was like, oh, I'm not getting the job. Because he was like, that's literally what you're literally doing is like a local maximum. And
Mm.
I don't want you to do that. That's stupid. And it's like, very forceful CEO and trying to make a point and teaches me that lesson of like what a local maximum is. And then it's like, hey, what else do you have? And it's like, oh shit, I need to find another idea. And I was working for a bus ticketing website at the time, and we had built a little tool that sent you a notification when there was a $1 bus ticket that dropped. So I don't know if you remember Megabus in Europe. They have like the €1 bus tickets. Well, it's like 1 in 1,000, so you can never really find them. But we had like built like a little tool to send you a notification. So I used that answer, said, what if we created like a separate app and it's all flights under €5? Because Ryanair was also having like a few crazy deals like that. Because we had all this database and flight prices, and it's probably not possible to build, but it was like, yes, exactly. That's what I want to hear. That's crazy. It's probably stupid, but that's not a local maximum idea. And that's where it clicked for me, and it put me on the right track when I started the job. That I had to think big. I had to think about ideas that were potentially destructive to the original business, and being aware and conscious, like little A/B testing on a page is not how you 100x a business.
I love that. Yeah, I love this concept of local maxima. I think it makes you, you know, think creatively or outside of the box or bigger picture. I have mixed feelings about this interview style. And it sounds like he's testing how creative you are on the spot. So I think that's a little bit interesting. But I think it also applies to, I'm a big fan of an advocate of marketing operations. And sometimes we're trying to improve the process just a little bit incrementally, um, trying to save maybe 25% of the time, get 2 hours back um, each week. And that kind of is more of local maximum thinking. Whereas, you know, global maximum could be like, do we need this process at all? Like, can we do it a
Exactly.
completely different way? And it definitely does change the game.
The
I love that.
fastest way to do something is not to do it, right? I always tell my team, be a little lazier, you know? We all love the busy bees, they're always like doing stuff and their calendar is completely full and they are like overworked. I'm like, you could probably not do 80% of what you're doing and you need to take the time to find it. I will say, like, on process optimization, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm also working for an investing app, so I understand the effect of compounding impact. And I think, like, when you can stack small wins very
Yeah.
obviously on top of each other, especially on like a process. So let's say right now we do a lot of promotions and super annoying, but like you take the terms and then you create like an FAQ because clients have questions like, how do I get this for free? Is this account eligible? And it's easy to do, but it takes a while. And so my coworker came up with just a little simple prompt to take in all the customer feedback that we've gotten from CS from the previous promotion. So all the questions they asked, the new terms and conditions, and it spits out the FAQs. Well, and they look great. Tweak them a little bit. Well, 2 or 3% improvements to our process. But we've been able to shrink recently because of the compounding effect of all these little improvements on our process, the time to market from idea to launch a campaign by quite a bit. So on process, I think sometimes it's worth it. It's more like the A/B tests sometimes that I have issues with on like landing pages and celebrating small wins. And I don't know if I think if you worked in growth for a few years for the same company, like, hey, you've had so many wins on your A/B test since you started. Your conversion should be at 300% by now, but somehow it only moved like a little bit, right? So, and we all kind of know deep inside that, like, yeah, that's not possible. I can't have a 10% increase every time I do my A/B test. And it's weird, right? Because like sometimes they're legit. It says like it has improved by 10% the conversion rate, and you ship it. You don't necessarily see it in the top line, or the results just don't stack. Yeah.
No, go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, I was just gonna say both examples are really cool. Like something else that you mentioned, Simon, was that like the finding out that what you were thinking was local maximum thinking sometimes is like a retrospective like analysis. It's hard in the moment to spot until it's kind of too late. What does it actually look like when you have a team or yourself and you're kind of stuck in that thinking? Can you share maybe like an example from Wealthsimple or earlier in your career where you're able to spot it in the moment?
Yeah, sometimes it's hard because like you're bought in, it's a big group, and we've invested a lot of like resources. I think some the things I try to spot is like when you have too many wins, like you're celebrating a lot of small wins in your A/B test, but it doesn't necessarily show up in the top line. And in the moment, you're like, it's going, it's going, it's going. And 6 months later, you take a step back. It's like, hey, what did this like project do for us? Like when you just take a step back and are able to see it in its entirety, and you're like, hey, we could have done like so many other things. But in the moment, you're like, let's get to the next step of the funnel, the next step of the funnel. And to give you a specific idea, and it's my bad because like I was obsessed with this. But if you worked in mobile right now, it's like in the past few years have been hard because you lose a lot of attribution. And so it's like web versus app thing coming back on the table. Like, are you better to send your Facebook ads to the web or to the app? If people land on your homepage, are you better off letting them onboard on the web? Or do you lose a bit of people, but you send them to the app and then they're becoming higher LTV customer because they have the mobile app? And that can lead you to a long series of A/B tests of like, let's try a big QR code. Let's try to text me the app. Let's try to block them completely from the web. And we tried a lot of things. And at some point I was like, hey, why are we doing this? Like, if you want the app, click here, go. And in the end, the answer was just like, let the people select what they want to do. Sign up on web, sign up on mobile. And yeah, every test was like showing a little bit of something, but in the end, it was better to just like ignore it. And yeah, I remember from my Hopper days, I was obsessed with Snapchat, and they had like the most basic website that never changed. They had one page, and it was just like, get the app. Or I was like looking at big companies like Airbnb or Uber with massive resources. And then the App Store page was like the same, outdated, and they seem to not pay attention to it. And now I realize like they were right. Like after running hundreds of, I don't know if you run the like Google Play Console A/B test. Really neat tool. You can test different screenshots. You get A/B tests are addictive. Like especially when you have like real-time mix panel or amplitude or Google Analytics results, and then you refresh all the time.
For every company that you just named that like hasn't changed something on their homepage and was just like thinking of other stuff other than like making tiny tweaks, There is a blog post saying that this one company changed the color of their button from blue to red and it 3x their
Yeah.
conversion rate, or they changed like book a demo to chat with us right now, and it for every story there's that equivalent, right? And I think that's what's led to a lot of people
Yes.
thinking too small when it comes to experiments. But when you sit down and you chat with a data scientist, like I had a short stint at WordPress.com and we had a full data science team, and they were involved in helping us design the experiment that we wanted to test.
Mhm.
And they always tried to roll us back to small changes. Like I was focused on lifecycle and email onboarding, and our whole goal was trying to increase the number of free site creations to paid site creations. And we had like 7 emails in our onboarding series, and we wanted to run a test to try to improve those. And I was scrapping that whole thing and wanted to redesign the whole thing. But the data team kept telling us, like, no, we're not going to be able to tell what was that thing
Yeah.
in the new thing that was really better here. We need to just change that one email. And it can't be a full change in the email. It has to be just one thing that we change. So
I
how do you
know.
fight that? Like, how do you personally pressure trust or like fight back with data teams on like whether an experiment or a project is worth doing, or it's just like busy work and local minimum versus maximum?
Yeah, I mean, I love my data people, don't get me wrong. And it's great partnership. But I agree with you. Like for them, they see the world through like a pure data lens. And it's like when they tell you like you can't run 2 experiments at the same time. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, you can. I just did it. Like um and yeah, it's not gonna be the cleanest results, but I'm looking for signal through the noise. So yeah, and I think like sometimes I like to say I'm data driven, but I'm not data led. Like things have to make sense. I'm not to the point where I don't care about the data or I don't want to have, but too much data is a thing. And sometimes it's like we launch an A/B test or we test something, there's no impact, but it makes sense for the client. Well, just leave it there. I think where the data can be interesting is when you don't believe in something and the data shows you otherwise. Then it's like, okay, interesting. Then it's helpful for me to like rethink my priors if the data is not showing what my instinct was saying. So I think it's still really interesting. But sometimes it's just like, yeah, I just want to do this. I think it makes sense for the clients. It will work in the long term, and I have conviction. And even sometimes you can ship something that has a bit of negative impact for the future,
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
future growth. Yeah.
Yeah. Marketing ops folks do sometimes like incremental changes on the process. And I wanted to chat about that because like I feel like there's two definitions of incremental and incrementality. And from like a measurement standpoint, there's this idea of calculating your baseline and trying to figure out what is net new on that baseline. This one campaign that we did, how much revenue was generated because of that campaign that wouldn't have happened otherwise. That's incrementality testing. It's what a lot of measurement providers are going all in on. But we also have a lot of folks that they hear incremental and they think small. They think of like a tiny little change, tweaking, compounding effect. So it like that term itself is doing a disservice because of the like the mixed definition there. But you called out incrementality as the second concept that would make someone leap into that top 5% of growth leaders. Simone, like for folks who think they understand what that means, how do you define incrementality, and maybe chat about an example there?
Yeah, and I think like a lot of people understand the concept of incrementality. And that's why I think the two things in tandem are great. Like you need someone who understands incrementality in their day-to-day like campaigning and testing, but also that like incrementality can lead to a local maximum and not, big thinking. So you need like both. It's like almost like your very rational math brain, and then your more like creative out there
Mm.
marketing brain that you can't forget. And I think like for me, what I'm looking for, and it's always a question I ask for hiring, and like most people think they understand it, but when you ask them like to explain the first principle, they can't do a very good explanation necessarily. And I like when it's very simple and almost instinctive. So it's like what you just said, Phil. It's like what would have happened if I didn't do this test? Is so sometimes I'm like, hey, what's a campaign you did? And oh, we launched a promotion and dropped the price by 10%, and sales went up by 25% during Black Friday. I'm like, okay, so what was the impact of the campaign?
Mhm.
Well, the sales went up by 25%. I'm like, is that the impact of the campaign? And so it's fine. Like if you push the candidate to the answer, yeah, they understand. Oh, yeah, we also had another item that was not on sale and saw an increase in sales by 5% because it was Black Friday. So I think like the impact was probably like 10, 15. And so if I see someone who is instinctively going there, I think it's going to be a better candidate or a better, team member, because that's just always, it's almost a meme at Wealthsimple, where every time someone shares results, if I don't see the incrementality analysis, I answer in threads like, okay, but what's the impact? It's
Mhm.
like, yes, great, like great engagement. A lot of people participated, especially when you start playing with like pricing and discount and incentives. Yeah, if you give free money to people, they're going to do something, but are you sure like people who are not going to do it, did it? You don't even need to be a marketer to understand that necessarily. It's like very first principle. Um,
I've been reflecting on this a bit, on incrementality. And on one hand, if you have the scale to do it, if you have the numbers, the volume, the number of customers or potential visitors, then what you invest in incrementality and even the changes that you make can actually have outsized returns. So small things can lead to big things. Uh, what if you don't have the data? Or like, what if you don't have that volume? And like, I'm asking this earnestly because I think about this myself, Simone.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
if you went to another company where that wasn't a thing, like you had a small set of customers, you had a long sales cycle, you didn't have the data to do incrementality, do you think you would just start melting and like, do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm asking that earnestly because I wonder what I would do. You know what I mean? Like, is it a skill set to environment type thing? Like if we went to different
Probably.
companies, would we need
Yeah.
an entirely different skill
Mhm.
set? Or like, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think you're onto something. Like if you're still in the early days, you're not necessarily looking for like incrementality, incremental change, and you're looking for like bigger swings. Or sometimes you're just trying to get by, trying to get new clients, trying to hit your numbers, and you don't have to worry too much about, is this incremental or not? We hit our numbers, we get momentum, we just ship. Like honestly, the one thing that supersedes incrementality, attribution, local maximum is speed for me. And um, if you don't have because what I don't want is like, and what I hate when I see that in my team sometimes and in myself, it's like we spend so much time discussing the attribution framework before shipping the experiment. I'd rather ship it with no data than like talking about it for days. And see what happens. I think it's a good product. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good offer. And sometimes you get lost into the attribution, the modeling conversations. So sometimes you are at a stage where speed matters more and just shipping than incrementality questions. Um, and yeah, if you have a lot of clients, it's a little easier. If you're doing like first, owned channels campaigns via email, via notification in your app, it's very easy to do incrementality analysis. You just have a holdout group. If you are doing ads, if you have enough budget, you can do a geo holdout somewhere, and, you know, measure precisely what the incrementality is. Most of the times you're probably not going to have that. And so you want to do just like simple pre-post. I launched this. Can I see with my eyes on the chart that it did anything? Right. So
Mhm.
that's incrementality. And if you tell me to my question, if I'm saying like, so what was the impact? Well, we doubled our sales, or, sales went up quite a bit, or I can see like clearly this changed the trajectory. It's like, okay, like that's incrementality too, without all the data frameworks necessarily.
Mm. Yeah, some of the folks that have strong opinions about incrementality have said that some of the drawbacks are that you should only do big incrementality tests for things that you don't think are incremental, and you're trying to validate that assumption. Because channels that you have a really good idea are incremental already, there's really strong signals. Maybe you did an incrementality test last year. You don't need to keep running incrementality tests on those things because they cost money.
Mhm.
The example that a lot of folks
Exactly.
give is like if we're doing meta ads and like $20 million per year on meta ads and we want to run an incrementality test for 6 months, that's potentially $5 million that could disappear just to be able to measure whether this channel is incremental or not. But if one of them, we have this hunch that it isn't incremental, then like the argument of the opportunity cost of running that test. So
Yeah,
maybe chat about that a little bit. Like, do you agree?
I agree with you. And I will say to me, the cost is not even the 5 million, it's the time that you
Right.
wasted
Yeah.
running those tests. That's like the most precious thing in a startup where your default debt is like your time. It's a
Yeah.
race against default debt. You're not profitable yet, right?
Mhm.
And you have like a certain amount of time to figure it out. And if you're wasting it on like too many of these like incrementality tests, like you're not doing something else. So it's the opportunity cost of running these models. And it's funny because like a lot of people they want to know, okay, what's your attribution model? Like as if it's like some magical dashboard where my attribution and incrementality is measured in real time, and I'm gonna have a big MMM media mix model that gives me like all the data is fed perfectly. That's not my experience with it, and it's more like what you said, where when either something I have doubts, like programmatic never worked for anyone. Kind of funny that it's working for us, right? Or something, and like it's as a growth person, you have to be very cynical and doubt everything,
Mhm.
but also be very optimistic about your company. So I can talk about that. But the way I approach incrementality is like, if I doubt something, or if we're spending a lot of money, and like my finance team was like, hey, you have one budget, so if you spend it there, it's not incremental, you're out. So then I think it's worth doing this one-time test, build conviction, go all in, and then eventually if conditions change, and it's 2 years later or whatever, and like it's not the same macro environment, you can retest. But I agree with you. Test where it makes sense and then move on.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Knack. I have the amazing pleasure of chatting with some of the greatest minds in marketing operations, but you'd be shocked at how many of them have the same issues when it comes to their campaign creation process. They're dealing with things like scaling, personalization, keeping assets on brand, render testing emails, working in rigid templates, and worst of all, having to hand code emails. But many of the leaders in the space are using Knack to eliminate these headaches. Knack is a no-code email and landing page creation platform that covers initial campaign requests right until the sync to your marketing automation platform. Knack improves the whole campaign creation process by bringing the building, optimization, testing, collaboration, and also translation functions all in a single spot. So you don't have to jump around and coordinate feedback between a bunch of different people or wait on developers for very simple edits. Because at the end of the day, marketing ops folks want to focus on process and efficiency. Marketers want to focus on creativity, and Knack makes sure you get both and then some. Check them out at knack.com. That's KNAK, and tell them we sent you.
This episode is brought to you by Revenue Hero. You've invested thousands in your marketing funnel, targeted the right ICP, spent weeks A/B testing, and optimized for conversion at every step. Finally, a high-intent prospect fills out your demo form, and then nothing. Your nurtured lead sits in a queue while you chase them with, "How's Thursday at 2 p.m.?" Meanwhile, your competitor is already on a discovery call. That's not just frustrating, that's revenue walking away. With Revenue Hero, you can qualify, route, and book leads with the right rep, so your team can start real conversations right away. For the ops folks listening, Revenue Hero syncs meeting data to your CRM. Auto credits no-shows, recalibrates when reps go on vacation, and has a ton of smart features you won't find anywhere else. If you're spending to drive demand, don't lose it at the last mile. Visit revenuehero.io/demo today.
It sounds like from your answer, speed is the most important element in all of this. And you're saying that by leading a team at Wealthsimple, obviously a big company, I think that applies even more at smaller companies when you're just trying to keep the lights on month to month. All marketers agree, and folks in the audience agree with you. Speed is important. Test when we can test when we're not sure if something is working or not. But then they have quarterly meetings with the CEO or the senior management team that doesn't get this. And they ask you, Simon, awesome, speed is important, whatever. What did you add to revenue last month? What is marketing's contribution? And then you spend a bit of time arguing, well, we could have spent 3 months putting this incrementality test together and giving you that dollar. But instead, we ran fast and look at this like post analysis showing us this number. How do you have those conversations with folks that are just like, Simon, I don't really care about anything other than telling me what marketing contributed to ROI this quarter?
Yeah, I mean, I would hate working at that company. And I've been lucky enough, but also it's a bit of a selection process. That's, to me, the real head of growth at a company is the founder. And sadly, I'm just a proxy, but the growth has to be driven by the founders. And usually it is because they got this thing off the ground against all odds. You can join for the ride when it's like starting to cruise. It's a little easier. But usually I try to navigate with people where if I say, if I hear it, Wealthsimple say, hey, Mike, sorry, we didn't have time to measure this because we wanted to just like ship this to the client. He'll say, amazing. Like, great. And you want someone who has that behavior, because I don't think like a lot of companies, to me, it's a big red flag if one of the executives asks you to spend your time on like presentations or extensive data analysis. They're not going to get anywhere. You want leadership who understand that speed and execution and shipping and client feedback and experience matters more than data. And then sometimes, I think maybe it's the finance team to like, hey, I just need to tell you to tell me what the payback is. And I've wasted a lot of time arguing and say, you don't need to, because like it's already done, or I'm telling you it's good and speed matters. And they're like, yes, but I need to like put the number in this box. And then I think like you have to realize it's just part of the job to like, you can't just be the knucklehead that doesn't care about any other team. And they also need to do their job. And then it has to become like you need to make it a good partnership and a mutual agreement that's like, hey, I need you to give me this payback. And instead of fighting it, I'm going to be like, hey, let's simplify the model. Not to the point where you type a number in a box necessarily, right? But you get the idea where, hey, they just need this to move forward themselves. Because like they also want to move fast. And so sometimes you have to cut in the middle and say, okay, let me take a step back. I'll give you what you need. So it's not, you do it for speed too, because otherwise you drag the conversation for weeks because you're fighting against like not wanting to create a model. So yeah, it's an interesting tension. But the founders, they need absolutely to be the people who value shipping and speed the most and reward the growth team for it, and not for like fake measurements to make everyone feel comfortable at the board meeting.
Yeah, I love that tension idea too. And it's we have this when I worked at AWS, we had this thing called the email bar raiser program. And basically marketers could build emails as fast as they wanted, but you had to get a specific email bar raiser, a person that was an expert, to actually approve it, like QA, but also approve the content. And the what we were trying to go for there was that each time a campaign is reviewed, there should be some tension, because what we're trying to do is like we're raising the bar, and that and it's an interesting concept that the tension is what raises the bar versus just if it's speed, the quality could just go down, right? So you can kind of see why these two teams would fight a lot or like argue a lot, but it's for a higher purpose. I think is like a really like interesting concept.
And something I try to tell my team, because I'm from Europe, I'm from Belgium, so not France. But I still like arguing, Canadian people, they like to agree. They like to be nice to each other. They don't like to disagree and fight and argue. I can have like the meanest meeting and then like get beers with you and like enjoy right after, right? And it's like, it's not about you, it's about the work, and I get passionate and not mean maybe, but and when you do growth, you need to be able to understand like you are going to be bringing that tension to other teams. We have this like growth is not natural. Like people don't like growth. They like stability in their jobs, in their lives. They don't like chaos. They want to put things in order. The growth people, the good growth people, they like disorder. They like chaos. They thrive in that environment. And sometimes when everyone's like, slow down, like, it's going too fast, you're the one who like, let's accelerate, and like you
Yeah.
almost like feel excited about it. It's maybe going like too far beyond your point, Daryl, but you have to, if there's no tension, you're not trying hard enough usually. If everything is
Yeah.
smooth sailing and like, if legal loves your campaign, it's not going to be a very good campaign, you know? Uh,
That's a
and
good
then
point. Yeah.
it's fine. Like we have this tension, like don't make other people miserable, but have fights, have arguments about why you want to like try things that might blow back a little bit. And if you don't want to be in that position, the growth team is maybe not the team that you're going to have a great time in.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a perfect soundbite. If legal loves your campaign, it's probably not a great campaign.
No, I mean, I'm exaggerating. Like, especially at Wealthsimple, we have an amazing team, and they feel part of the team. It's just to drive a point,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Usually, they love the campaigns the most too. So if you have the right legal people, and it's like I'm actually on this point. I think like the best experiences and campaigns I've been able to build is when we were able to bring the finance people, bring the legal people, bring the brand and product people into the fold, get their buy-ins, and then you start seeing like your scrappy little like experiment can become like truly a part of the product, and everyone feels excited about it. And like I want the legal team to go home and tell their friends and their partners like, oh, we hit this like number of depository new clients, and feel ownership and be recognized for the campaign, not like I approve this campaign. They were so painful about like disclaimer length, and I don't care about the results because I'm not getting any recognition or praise about it. So I'm not the best. Like I try to be better. I think like it's definitely an area for improvement on my end. If my legal team listens, but yeah.
Yeah, no, makes a ton of sense. Let's chat about A/B testing a little bit here because I think that some folks we've had on the show have had this opinion about whether incrementality experiments are technically A/B tests or if A/B tests should be in this box of smaller tweaks and optimizations. Incrementality could mean like let's just test a whole channel. Let's just turn off a campaign completely, turn off a channel completely. It's harder to do that for an A/B test, and like the concept of A/B test is picking one little thing and trying to optimize for that thing. If we're using Bayesian's decisions model, are we seeing like an uplift there? If the sample size is big enough to have 95% significance, and like I just feel like it's a bit of a different box, but some folks put it in the same box. You've actually said that A/B tests are a waste of time, and I'd love to like have you unpack that because you did say that incrementality is one of the most important concepts in growth. So when is A/B testing actually worth it for you, and when do they hold teams back from real progress?
Yeah, I mean, I like to make little outlandish claims to make a point. Like A/B tests in itself, it's a great tool, right? Like if you're a test, it all depends on like what's your A, what's your B, and I think like probably 80% of the A/B test, like why are you testing that? This is too small. If you're doing an A/B test between like a big change versus like not having the feature, or it's a great A/B test, right? And like A/B test technically, I guess, should be, between incrementality because you're literally having a control group and a test group. But I think, yeah, it's just like, at Wealthsimple, we want to be the largest financial institution in Canada. So we have like these massive goals. And sometimes it doesn't like square for me where how am I going to get there by making this small part of the product or experience a little bit better?
Yeah.
And it's almost, maybe it's a trap, but there's almost a better use of my time trying something much bigger, something completely different, completely new. versus optimizing something we have right now. Because what we have now is so far from where we want to be that it just doesn't compute for me that we would want to get 5 or 10%
Can you
better
give
on
us
this funnel.
can you give us even like a hypothetical example of like what would you say is too small? Like A/B test that's not gonna like you shouldn't waste your time. And like an example of something that would like, hey, we should A/B test this for sure.
Like the color of homepage CTA buttons.
Yeah,
Or register now versus sign up here.
yeah, we'll never test that. It's like, you think about onboarding, for example. Okay, onboarding, everyone gets excited, right? It's like where we only have like 30 or 50%, like half of people are not becoming clients, and let's go at it. And I think like the first instinct for people is like, there's too many screens. Like, let's try to reduce the number of screens. Let's try to change the words on the screens. Let's try to switch the order. What if we ask them to do this before that? Our KYC process, just a bit of a drop here. Like, let's try. And like, maybe that's good. Like, you still want the product team eventually to own that. But I'd be more like, what if there's no onboarding in the app and you have to call us? What if we called every person instead of like getting them to do it themselves? What if we had 60 questions about like all their financial situation and lives? A little bit like, you remember Noom? They were the first one where like, no, let's make a super long onboarding. And everyone's like, what? No. And then it was like amazing, apparently, or maybe it was great marketing on their end. But so that would be an example. Or I think also as a growth team, I'm very excited about like, so we spend a lot of money on paid channels on Facebook and Google, and like, what can I do with that money to get the same results? And so we've done a lot of like incentive campaigns, offer free Apple devices, and I compare like that money invested in channels into like other ways to reward or influence the behavior of my clients that would not typically be considered like marketing channels. Something I would love to do. It's not a project yet, but for example, what if we organize a concert and use all the tickets to pay like, I don't know, $500K, $1 million, get an amazing artist everyone wants to see, and then you use the tickets as like your referral incentive instead of cash. And it's like, wait, like you want to organize a concert? Why? It's like, well, first it's cool. Like I want to do it. It's fun. It's more fun than like onboarding optimization. And maybe it gets viral. Maybe like there's like, and it started by like a reflection we had. Okay, our clients love Apple products. Every time we do a promotion with like a free iPhone, AirPods, the response is insane. And we're like, what's better than a free iPhone? And then there's not that many things that are better. But you know what's better? Taylor Swift's tickets, right? When the whole craze happened last year. So it's like, how can I get Taylor Swift tickets? I was like, what if like we just had a Taylor Swift concert? How much does it cost, And like, what's the growth model to make it work? And then I saw Revolut in London. They threw a concert with Charlie XCX as the headliner. And yeah, you think like it's for brand, but Revolut is an amazing like growth operation. Like I don't know who's running that, but they're doing a terrific job. And I think like you could win the tickets by upgrading, by doing like a few things in the app. And that's amazing because then you turn this into something scalable and repeatable if you can prove it has like a positive return on investment. And now all of a sudden you have a new marketing channel that's concerts as a channel. And not only that, do you prefer like annoying TikTok ads or pre-roll YouTube videos or going for free to a show with your friends thanks to this brand? It's like no debate, right? And yeah, so I'd love to spend more of my time on those type of ideas and initiatives, and like most of them die in the Apple notes, but one thing I do at Wealthsimple that I think others can try to do, but usually when I have like these little random ideas, I tell a few people, hey, we're doing this. And I see how quickly like I hear about it from someone else. Like finance being like, hey, we're not research. Like, is this budgeted? or CX being like, can we be looped in for this promotion? And so I can see how viral ideas get internally, and that's kind of a good signal to know if I should keep pursuing the economics or the feasibility, or if and some stuff like are very sticky. Like I have a campaign idea right now that I'm super excited about. I don't want to give any spoilers, but the minute I said it, like, a few weeks later, everyone at the company heard about it and wanted to do it. And you're like, okay, that's where I can like spend a bit more of my energy and forget the other ones.
Very cool. I feel like what you're describing is like nightmare, fear-inducing for marketing ops folks. Just like, what crazy ideas are Simon talking about now?
Yeah.
We went from testing button colors to doing a Swiftie promo and putting on their own concert.
It's funny you say that, but yeah, I think at first I was like, well, we're not like, how are we gonna sell tickets? Or so we did an amazing iPhone promotion. Was the most successful promotion we did, but now we had to ship like tens of thousands of iPhones, and we had to set up like an entire operation of like, buying from Apple, the shipping, people complaints because like their package was dropped in front of their door, and like they can't find it. They write to us, and it's like, but eventually it's like, you find the people who embrace. They're like, oh, what's the next crazy thing we're gonna do, and have fun with it, versus like, oh my God, like another, new thing, and you want like to get more the first type of people around you, and
Yeah. Well, we better talk about AI before we run out of time. So I think you said something around, AI is leveling the playing field, from a channel perspective, and like even for marketers. Like, what do you mean by that? What's your take on AI? Like, and maybe some examples about what you're doing at Wealthsimple.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with it, because I think that's where you can get out of a lot of local maximum, thanks to AI in the future. But yeah, I had this bit of an analogy. I don't know if you remember, like a few years ago when Facebook launched AAA campaigns, automated app ads campaigns, and like most notoriously maybe Google app campaigns, where you just started to like give them creatives, tell them like your desired level of return on investment, feed the right data, and then you don't have to do anything. And it's like, before I had to create via the Facebook ads API, like hundreds of campaigns, like creating script to optimize my bids, etc. And you had an edge if you had like a bit of a, growth hacking technical team, competitors. And then Facebook and Google sort of leveled the playing field. Like one person could run like a pretty big budget and operation versus a bigger team, and you couldn't get an edge with like bids optimization as much as you used to. And then the edge became like, creative, probably. Like everyone's like, creative is the new optimization, because that's where you can still find big swings and have become really good or become average. And with AI, I find like maybe we're gonna have the same thing first on creative. Like if AI probably needs like another year or two, but you can like create UGC ads in a click, and all you need is a good idea. You can like have a lot of variations of your creatives. You can have a lot of copy created by AI. So first, everyone's gonna have like really good creatives. It's gonna be hard to compete against each other again, or it's gonna level the playing field. But even in terms of like expertise, so in the past, maybe right now, it's good to have like one SEM expert, one Facebook ad paid social expert, one email marketer, like someone really good at using AppsFlyer or whatever. But because of AI, you can learn. Imagine like you can learn everything almost instantly, or become an expert, or having an expert in almost every channel very quickly. Does that mean you mostly need like generalists now who are smart and curious, but can flex into any channel instead of hiring channel specialists? So I've reorganized my team a little bit at Wealthsimple, where instead of having like the ads team, the lifecycle team, the promo team, they focus more on like specific KPIs or targets, like growing clients, growing assets, growing direct deposit or paychecks. and every team can use like any tool. And I want people to be comfortable launching an email campaign, testing a Facebook ads, a campaign the next day, and then run maybe like write a small script to test something in the app, thanks to like an in-app model that they created. Like a bit of, you want like folks who are comfortable with technical stuff. And the next day also write their own SQL queries, thanks to Claude is really good for SQL. And most of my team now go directly and query the data thanks to SQL. So they're becoming like expert at a bit of everything. And if you just fast forward that, I wonder if like it's leveling the playing field in terms of like technical and tooling expertise and channel expertise. It's just like more pure like growth skills that are going to be valued versus like deep expertise in like
Did you get any
SEM.
pushback on that? Because the most obvious one is, if you're removing the specialization, you like, there's like a skill set thing, but there's also like an efficiency thing that I always hear. Like, well, if these people are experts on meta ads, they're gonna do it faster and better. So how did you deal with that pushback or anything?
A little bit, but first I found like people are excited to learn and to diversify. Everyone's a little worried about AI. And so I think like you want to be in an environment where you're going to learn more stuff. And also, actually, I do not really want them to be specialized, because I think that's where you can fall into a bias where, well, my job is running Facebook ads for this company or paid social ads, or my job is running search. No, your job is growing clients, is growing the business. And if you're a little too narrow on like, this is my area of expertise, again, you might miss like a bigger opportunity. And I find some people, they don't like it. They build like 10 years of experience and like being really good at ads and attribution and mobile and paid social. And now I'm asking them to do concerts. But I think, I don't know. Yeah, that's kind
It
of
is kind
how
of
I see
funny.
it. Yeah.
No, but I think you're right. It's on that. I think you painted the most exaggerated version to make
Yeah.
your point.
But I think they love it because they work here. And what I want for my team is you work with me for a few years. And if you move on, hopefully you stay with me, you're going to like bring that mentality into another company, and you're going to be very successful because you won't have like the tunnel vision. You're going to make big swings and propose like big things. And I think like I've seen like a lot of great development and growth from the younger people on my team, feeling a little bit liberated. And this the meme right now is like high agency, and you want to hire people with a lot of agency. And I
Yeah.
really like that. So I always tell my team like, hey, you can just do things. You don't need to ask me. You don't need to ask anyone. Don't do stupid things. But and like, we're a financial service company, so we can't break the trust from our clients. But they also love that. Some people especially love that, the freedom of like, I'm not confined to a specific channel.
I definitely agree with that. I think that there's still, maybe not always, but for the next 5 years, going to be a place for the specialists. And maybe I'm coming more from like the marketing ops background, the person who is thinking in systems and architecting all of these tools and connecting them together. So like your example of, hey, I want someone to be able to send an email out themselves from the high level standpoint, service level tasks. A lot of tools do that really well already. Like one of our sponsors is Knack, and Knack allows you to have like guardrails in place so that people don't do dumb stuff. Just like, oh, ChatGPT says these are the steps to send out an email in Braze. You log in, you follow that step, you send it, and it's like, oh, I actually forgot to do that one thing, and we sent the email out to way too many people, and now we have 17,000 emails to customer support that are pissed because we sent the email out to wrong people. Or I created a new flow to automate this one email or this push notification if someone does this. Oh, I didn't realize that that same action is also used for triggering these 3 other flows, and that blew up our whole system. So like, I think that I get your point, and it is exciting because people who don't have a specialist background can be a lot more dangerous, but that danger comes with a certain level of responsibility, and those guardrails and the systems level people behind the scenes that are just like, yes, marketer, go off and send out emails and braze, but here's a list that ChatGPT doesn't know about based on how our system is set up and the nuance and the context. So there's a balance there of
Yeah.
I don't know, like uploading contacts and making sure that like, hey, if the marketer is using ChatGPT to figure out how do I do this, how do I do that, we're also feeding it proprietary data on how Braze is set up and the existing flows that we have and some of our data nomenclature, blah blah blah. That's my
Just
counter argument.
on that small point, um, Wealthsimple and I hope like other companies now have like these internal LLMs. That's
Mhm.
pretty cool. Like we have all the tools, all the models available to us. And in the like, let's say like, LLM tool for Wealthsimple that I can connect to in similar interface as ChatGPT. So we're not feeding anything into ChatGPT.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, like, especially with emails and like CRM. You can't do much wrong with a Facebook ad. You can do some damages in other areas. So I think like giving access to everything to everyone, I hate like gatekeeping and like I'm only sending the emails, etc. I do like to have some experts, right? So, and in reality, that's how it works. Like, not everyone is really sending email in the team. But you will have like one or two people who are getting really good at it, and then you have this just simple collaboration where, oh, I'm trying to do this in Braze where, if it's sunny outside, I want to like promote this, go and buy an ice cream with your cash cards. So I imported this like little weather API, and can you check my work?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I see a lot of that, and it's great to see people collaborate. And so you have like little pods of people who like help each other. But it's not like, hey, this is my tool. Like, why are you doing this?
Mhm.
I really don't like this attitude, and I try to reward the opposite behavior of people like teaching others and even other teams. Product marketing, they want an email were overloaded, and they'll complain like growth doesn't want to help. I'm like, no, hey, get on the tool. We'll give you a seat. Running Facebook ads is accessible to everyone now. Go in, like we're not gatekeeping, and it just creates a great collaborative environment.
I
But yeah,
love that.
check my homework before I submit.
Yeah.
It is good.
Super cool. Yeah, I think for the marketing house folks listening that are just so used to getting a ticket or a request that's just like, we want to send out an email or a notification based on, weather changes, and marketing ops team go off and figure that out. And it's like
Yeah.
a long list of things to figure out versus someone now doing the research, having an LLM that they have a conversation with, they brainstorm with it. And then when they create that request, instead of just saying, I want this thing, they say, here's a potential scenarios of doing this. I found this
Mhm.
weather API. I've connected it to this and I've tested it. Like, can you just double check my work? That's like
And
going
I
back
think
to your main point about speed.
for creative as well, right? Like when I joined Wealthsimple, it's like marketers were not writing a single line, and I was like, what? And we have the best writers in the business. They're amazing. Or TLDR newsletter is amazing, and they're very creative, obviously, but they don't need to write like every single line in email. But again, it's like, check my work. It's like, oh, this is cringe. Let me like workshop a quick like headline, or these AI generated subject lines. Like, do you really need that one? I would like kill it. And so this is that level of work. So you get faster, you go a little faster, and you keep some sort of quality check on the work.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. I'm a TLDR subscriber, by the way. One of the
Nice.
few newsletters that I open. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it could be something like, I came up with this pithy way to put it, but it could be like the future of Martech operators is more of like a mindset than a skill set or a tool set, And I think that might be right because, gosh, if you think about like 10 years ago, all the tools that we had, like Siebel systems and all of these like on-premise things, that was a skill set of how you do that. That is
And-
like almost useless today, like completely useless. But the people and like their problem-solving ability and their creativity using tech, that's always going to be
100%. And I think like, Phil, you were saying like maybe you go on ChatGPT and you ask like, how do I send an email in Braze. But I think what's going to happen is more that the Braze and the Moat Engage and the Apps Flyer and all these tools, they better get going, because the future of these tools, like I go in the tool and I say, hey, I want to send an email to clients who have not used their card for the past 7 days and live in Toronto. And I would like the email to promote this deal that I got with this ice cream vendor. And I want Braze to do it and to show me before I send, but like they have to build the just like natural language querying and capacity into their tools, so everyone can become an expert and create the tool. And then maybe you have like someone says like you have a queue of emails. And I think like this is kind of make me think, so like one thing I worry about AI is that if everyone can like create campaigns so easily, and every single idea and abuse of deep research, it's like I love it, because all these like stupid ideas that I have when I like go for a little walk, like, oh, we should like do a concert, like just to keep on that example, it's like 2 lines. I don't have the time to like go and do research. Has anyone ever done this? What's the 10 obvious risks? PR, I don't know, whatever. But if you ask deep research to build the business case for it, now you have like the best business case, and like writing the Amazon style of like writing, and like, you know, Daryl, I heard you are at AWS. And yeah, it's like all of these are great ideas. I want to do all of them. And so first, like it can fool you almost into, because before, it's like if the idea is not sticky enough, you're just gonna forget it, and then it will die in your notes. Beautiful death. But now, like every idea I want to pursue, because like it feels so good on paper, and I share it, and people are like, wait, this is really impressive. The one pager is really crisp. The financial model seems correct. And so you have an abundance of ideas and campaigns and projects, but you can't ship them all, because the scarcity we were going to have is the client's attention, right? And so so prioritization and like is going to be almost a key skill rather than like production and speed, etc. Because so having great ideas and then like being able to sort through them and prioritize, because building the campaign and shipping it is going to be compressed into like a few days instead of like maybe couple of months before.
That's a really cool concept. Simon, we're running short on time. I feel like there's a couple episodes we could do just on AI and your thoughts around this. Yeah, exciting times to be in growth and Martech. Really appreciate you joining us. We got one last question for you. You're obviously a VP of growth. You're a team leader. You're also a speaker. You're also a fun uncle at home. One question we ask everyone on the show is, how do you remain happy and successful in your career? How do you find balance between all the stuff you're working on while staying happy?
I think like, you know, I take my work very seriously, but I try to, and this maybe a piece of advice, like I try to not take myself too seriously. Like the priority is to have fun, spend like 8, 10 more hours at work every day. So like, just try to have fun. Don't be miserable. Don't make other people miserable. We're tiny speck floating in space. Doesn't matter. You know, I'm Wealthsimple. This is great. It's so exciting. Like the most incredible fintech. We have a shot at like going after the big banks. It's amazing. But sometimes I just remind myself, hey, I'm selling bank accounts. You know, not like saving lives. You know, it's fine. So don't take yourself too seriously. And I think another piece for me, the way I stay happy is like I see this as a game. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's fun. Like, and I like to play this game. It's like a big board game. I have resources. I have a timer. I have opponents, and then everything becomes a little more fun because I want to know the results. Like, and I see good growth people when they ship something and they like refresh, and I want my dashboard, and like, I'm excited to see the turn by turn play. And if you frame it this way, it's a really exciting way to go through work without feeling like you're working.
I love that. Life is a game. Play it with purpose. Forget who said that, but yeah, I really appreciate that thought there, Simon. It's been a super fun conversation. We'll link out to the TLDR newsletter. folks can find you on LinkedIn. I know you said you're doing more speaking tours and podcasts and stuff like that. You got a ton of stuff to share with folks, and I appreciate you spending an hour with us here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a lot of fun.
The #1 conference for marketing ops and revenue ops professionals is back again this year. Block off your calendars from October 27th to the 29th in Anaheim, California. Grab your tickets at mopsapalooza.com while you enjoy some of the highlights from last year.
This event is legit.
Mopsapalooza is different because it's a practitioner's event.
Everybody learns from each other.
It's not a bunch of sales pitches.
This is the users community.
This year, we had over 300 submissions to speak. The sessions were selected and voted on by every single one of you. Marketing ops isn't just marketing. It's about so much more than that.
It's about getting inspired by each other to drive impactful change.
And when Moat Pros are fully aligned with broader business goals, we become the true driver of growth.
It is going to be an exciting few years ahead, and I really do believe that marketing ops is going to be at the absolute center of this.
See what's going on in the industry. You want to be on top of your game, this is the conference to come to.
It's the place to be. It's easily the best conference that you're going to go to all year.
Community is completely next level.